Today on Partners in True Crime.
So it's not, of course, it's not out to the public because, nothing's been out, been going out about the dismantling of death row and stuff. But they're starting to, and as crazy as it sounds, release some of the death row inmates.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Release them back into the public?
Yes. This is obviously a pedophile who has committed sex crimes along with murder. So those are the hardest.
And how long has he been on death row, that particular person?
Years. I mean, years.
Okay, everybody, we're back with Laura Brand. I know it's been a few weeks. She's been a busy bee with her book. It's going crazy. It's sold out at Barnes & Noble in 24 hours?
Less than 24, I think. Yeah.
Amazing. It's so good. You guys have to read it. God's Not Here, Only Devils. And by the way, that's Laura's moniker, no one else's, FYI. For everybody else that's out there, Laura got that from The Toolbox Killer, and some people who had read her book before it was published, kind of took it. But whatever, it's Laura's. And no one else's. Anyway, so we're excited to have her back. There's been a lot of response to her book, and we're going to be starting up with Serial Killer Whisper again, talking to some of the killers again in the next couple of weeks. But we wanted to kind of go through some of the questions that people sent in about Laura's book and to see if she can kind of expand on it and see if there's more information that she can share. And also tell us a little bit about what she's been up to.
Yeah. And the fact that you're in negotiations for some TV rights and stuff. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
great.
So knock on wood, that goes through.
Yes. Yeah. We really are excited about that for
Laura. For scripted, by the way.
Yes,
correct?
For scripted.
It'll be for the book rights to turn it into scripted. And then I also have some news about, death row too.
Oh, let's
start with that.
Let's do some housekeeping here.
Some housekeeping. So it's not, of course, it's not out to the public because, nothing's been out, been going out about the dismantling of death row and stuff. But they're starting to, and as crazy as it sounds, release some of the death row inmates.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Release them back into the public?
Yes.
Okay.
Not like resentencing hearings, just releasing?
Out of prison. Yes.
How did you hear about this?
There were 2 cases in Vacaville. One was on death row and one was a lifer. But the one that was a lifer has killed many little boys. Yes.
And they're releasing this person.
Yes. And so
killed children.
Officer, what happened was a couple of my inmates had spoke to some of the correctional officers, and they said they were really upset about it. And they said, why can't you do anything? And they said, we can't speak out about it. We can't let the public know. So their hands are tied. So then they came to me.
Do you have the names of these death row inmates?
Yes. Well, the lifer is not a death row, but the other one is. But yeah, I can get their names.
Get their names, and we're going to talk about their cases, and then we're going to talk about the fact that they're being released back into the public. Where, Laura, in your experience working with serial killers for almost 2 decades now, what do you feel about them being rehabilitated to go back into public society?
Well, I've spoken about this a lot. Every killer is their own. It's not every killer is the same. Everyone's their own person. It depends on, what they're diagnosed with, what their personality traits are. It's a whole thing. But I've always stated, when it comes to sex crimes, sexual criminals, this is a whole different beast that needs to be treated separately from, the rest of the inmates or violent offenders, because these are the hardest to rehabilitate. So this is obviously a pedophile who has committed sex crimes along with murder. So those are the hardest.
And how long has he been on death row, that particular person?
Years. I mean, years.
And what was the reasoning for them allowing him to be released?
I don't know the exact reasoning, but we've seen what's happening at death row. They're re-looking at all these cases, which ones can be rehabilitated, who can go back out. There's no real answer to that. It's really Newsom has just been putting them all over the state, and Yeah. We,
I think
we've
it's
never seen
shocking
anything like
that
this before. I
there's
even
no.
called Dr. White, and he had said, he was like, I've never seen this before. I was like, no, of course. It's never happened before.
I think it's really interesting that there's no media coverage of this at all. So again, like we were at death row when it was being dismantled, and there were very minimal news reports about the fact that they were quietly dismantling death row last year when we were actually there.
Actually, it's longer than that. It's 2 years almost.
Yeah.
It's been almost 2 years. And the only news report I saw was on Sky News in London with Newsom playing basketball with the inmates. That was the only news report I saw about them dismantling.
And it was a throwaway too.
And it was like a throwaway
line. And he said, "Oh yeah, we're going to be dismantling it." Like
it wasn't like the whole focus of the piece was that they're dismantling death row. It was that he was going to rehabilitate these horrific serial killers and all these people that had done these horrific crimes. He was going to rehabilitate them by releasing them or moving them off of death row.
Yep.
So now our fear that some of these offenders would be put back into society without the proper rehabilitation. As you said, sex crimes, pedophilia, these are things that are not easily fixed by rehabilitation.
Right.
Yeah. And then they have been released or they're getting released?
They're getting released. But it's been like the paperwork is all signed. Yeah.
Is there a timeline? Do they know when they're probably not going to announce it. They're just probably not going to they're just going to kick them out.
Yeah, well, I know they're trying to keep it quiet because even, the COs were like, we're outraged. We can't say a thing.
What about the victims' families? Are they aware of this?
Well, I think I just heard that Nina was just on a 2020 or a Dateline.
Nina is my friend that I went to college with. And
Yeah.
Nina is also an attorney who fights for victims' rights. She is in Sacramento area. She works in legislation. She helped create the Amber Alert. So Nina is pretty well versed in this for the past 30 years since I've known her. So she was on 2020 recently. Is that what you're saying? I didn't see it.
I think it was 2020 or Dateline. And I know Mark Klass has been doing, I think both of them have been speaking up as far as that.
Does she know about this?
I'm pretty sure they know. Yeah.
Okay.
About this specific thing, because I'm going to call
I don't know
her.
about this specific case, but about the releasing. I know that her and Mark Klass have been outspoken about it.
All right. Well, I'm going to call her after this. Maybe we can get her on the podcast because this is crazy. I mean, the fact that they're releasing these violent offenders against children back into society with no oversight is terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they'll be on parole, but I mean,
are you kidding me? Who cares?
Yeah. Well, we're going to contact the warden. There's the warden there. It's the California State Prison Solano. Is that it in Vacaville? Okay, that's the one. So Janin Cavanaglio and Jason Swartz are, I guess, the leadership and acting wardens there. I have your phone number. We're going to call you and try to get a statement from you. And I mean, I would love to do it now, but I don't want them to know that we're recording and stuff like that. But we'll definitely get a statement from them. And
well, we can't record in California without telling them, so it's pointless. We'll do it, offline and see if they'll give us a proper interview. But I do think that this is something we have to talk about in depth on another podcast after we get some more information. So stay tuned for this. This is important information for anyone living in this country, not just California, because if this becomes the norm to take violent offenders off of life sentences and parole them into society without any oversight and without the public knowing this, then that's the problem. And look, we're all about wrongful convictions or people that are rehabilitated. We are all about it. We did a documentary on it. We're not here to say that people should stay in prison if they've been rehabilitated and they're able to go back into society. But when you're talking about pedophiles and sex offenders
and murderers
of violent crimes where victims suffered, tortured, and to put these people back into society. We've talked to so many serial killers who have straight up told us, if I am put back into society, I will do this again. Laura, how many times have you been told that? We've only been doing this for 5 years with you. You've been doing this forever.
I mean, how many times have we caught it on tape?
Yes. I'm going to make a reel of that to show everybody that this is what they're saying. This is enraging. I don't even know what to say right now. I'm so mad.
It's scary.
Well, because California is kind of like the testing ground, I feel like, for the rest of the country.
Exactly. That's my
so
point.
Like, if it's happening now in California,
forget it.
Spread. Yeah.
New York is next.
No, it'll be Illinois and then New York. Because Illinois seems to hide a lot of this stuff as well.
No. We're not hiding this. I'm sorry. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Well, good. Okay. So welcome to Partners in True Crime this week. A little excitement to start off with.
Yeah. We'll follow up on that.
We'll follow up next week. We're going to dive into that and see what else we find out and get some more information.
And if we can, I don't know if we'd be able to get somebody in the inside talking about it, but you never know.
Well, we'll see what we can do. And we'll start rattling that cage. Right now, though, I do want to get to some of these questions about Laura's book and the toolbox killers that she did amazing work with for such a long period of time. She's the only one that ever really got into the mind of the toolbox killers and really understood where they were coming from and what they were doing. And we're talking, these are two of the most notorious serial killers of all time, the most heinous crimes against young women, victims, young girls. It's just, it's heartbreaking. If you don't know about the toolbox killer stories, go back and listen. And we're going to start organizing playlists on our YouTube page so that you can find things easier. But Laura, a lot of fans have reached out in the past couple of weeks. We wanted to wait until we had, maybe the top 5 or 6 questions that people were most interested in. But I think one of the biggest things was people kept asking, why did they pick the victims that they picked? Like, what was it about each victim that they chose them out of, let's say, someone else that was walking down the street who was also a pretty girl? I mean, the obvious reason because of the looks and the way the person looked, but they were curious to see if there was a psychology behind why they chose certain victims.
Well, it was because of the looks, and Bittaker's first girlfriend, rejection, and Norris, they both wanted this blonde hair, blue eyes. And then, but another component to that really is, these were the ones that they got into the van. Aside from Cindy, Andrea, Jackie, Leah, and Lynette, they said, do you want to ride? And they got in. So it was, opportunity mixed in with, their physical features too. Predators, like serial killers like them. It's mostly a lot about opportunity. They see somebody sitting at a bus stop. If someone will just hop in the car from like hitchhiking, that's like one of the biggest aspects of this.
I think it's, like you said, it is opportunity. And that's why you have to always be vigilant about your safety. But also, what I thought was interesting too about Lynette was that he kept going to McDonald's over and over again. And someone was asking, like, why didn't anyone notice that, this man was coming in to talk to this young girl? Why didn't anyone say anything? Did he give you any insight as to what Lynette's reaction was to him, or how she responded to him when he first approached her?
Well, Lynette was very polite. And back then, especially at, 16, even if every girl's had a creepy guy just come up and, you're always just like, okay, thank you. Like, you're kind of short,
right?
But you're not rude or mean or anything like that. And that was kind of how Lynette was. She's at work. She's told to smile when somebody comes up to the counter. She's told to say, okay, please, thank you. You're at work. You're in an environment where you have to be polite too. So she's at work. She's at the counter. And of course, she's polite. She's short. And he just kept coming in day after day. And almost every single one of the coworkers actually testified at the trial.
Yeah. He was grooming her. Classic grooming.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, it's just so scary to think that, he was like every day. Right. He was waiting he was profiling her. He was grooming her, observing all her habits, what she did, who she talked to, all of those things.
Yeah. And every single one of her coworkers who did testify said they noticed him every day. Like, he was just that weird guy that would come in, weird guy that would stare at her. And, you listen to all these cases, like how many people come forward afterward and they're like, oh, that weird guy, he used to like always look at her type of thing. You hear it like all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just think that whole part, she was such a young girl too. She was like, what, 15, 14, 15, 16?
Yeah.
She was young. Like, you're not, like, how many creepy guys would come into the restaurant where I worked and be like, oh, leave you a good tip? And you'd be like, whatever, get
Thanks.
away. You know,
Right.
you're a creepy guy, you come in every day, weird. But no one in the 90s or, you know, and
80s.
this was earlier than when I was that age. So
Yeah.
we're talking like this is like the 70s and
Or it was the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's 79. Yeah.
yeah,
79,
so
so
the
right.
late 70s, like no one was thinking, oh God, this guy's a psycho serial killer
Right.
in a
Right.
beach town in Southern California. Nobody's
Right.
thinking that.
And you've got to remember,
Everybody-
these guys both had good jobs.
Right.
Yeah. What was
Both
in
had
Burbank
really
area?
good
Wasn't
jobs.
really the
You know,
beach.
they were, and they knew how to talk. They would, especially Bittaker had been in and out of prison, but he knew how to, you know, coddle the psychologist. I mean, these guys are good at what they do, and they pick it up, and they know how to just talk to people and kind of con people, and that charisma that they always talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's if they know how to, you know, I mean, and he was like, when you look at him as younger, I mean, he was a creepy dude. He was a creepy looking dude then, but for some reason he had, and what was it? What was the color of his eyes? Did he have blue eyes?
I think, yeah, he had blue eyes. Yes.
Yeah. Cause I remember seeing some of those things and he's got these kind of really kind of hypnotic blue eyes.
But you also said that sometimes he would flip the switch with you and they would turn black.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
But this is
remind me.
when I was really pushing him. Like there were points where I really, really pushed Norris and Bittaker to bring that out. Is like, I mean, this is something I tell people never ever to do because it is dangerous. But there's, you know, you push them to a certain point and in a way to get that serial killer to kind of pop out, for that mask to slip, for that mask to crack that they always talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an interesting question, and I agree with this because I think you did a fantastic job on this. The first person chapters from Cindy and Andrea's perspectives were, without a doubt, some of the best parts of the book. I agree. At the same time, I imagine they must have been some of the hardest to write. Now, someone wrote this question in.
Mhm.
Since they're outside your usual field of forensic psychology and given the responsibility of doing justice to these wonderful young women, what was that process like for you?
Oh, I mean, those chapters were definitely the hardest to write. The murder chapters, but also like getting into, you know, writing it from their perspective or their family's perspective. You know, I talked to their friends, their families, so I got a really good idea of who these girls were, and like especially, you know, the stories you're hearing, especially Cindy's at the doctor's office. She loved that job. Everybody loved her, and it was only a couple days right before her abduction, and same with Andrea. I really did it up like that first week right before the abduction. Andrea had saved up to send her sister all those fireworks because she'd never seen fireworks. I mean, this is who these girls were. And I wanted to bring that out and show people like just how amazing they were. They were the sweetest girls, the nicest girls. And I didn't want people to read the book and think, you know, just another true crime book where it's like, okay, this one died, this one died. No, I wanted like everyone to read these chapters and get to know them and walk away from like feeling like a sense of they knew these girls as if they could be your sister, your mother, your aunt, whatever.
Well, what I love about it is that you gave humanization to victims when all we hear about are the victims and they become faceless entities.
Exactly.
So you gave them a personality, you gave them a voice. That's what we're here for. That's what we're doing this for. And I think that you did an excellent job at that.
Yeah. So many times when you see these, all you do is you see is a photograph and then you see the day that they were deceased. You don't, you know, you're, and maybe a couple sentences about who they were. No one really talks about who these victims were. And some people immediately think, well, had they put themselves in a position to get killed by a serial killer in the first place? What were they doing? That kind of thing. So it's immediate. Like we've been dealing this.
The victim shaming is.
We're working on the Black Dahlia case right now with these two producers who did this documentary, and that was like in 1947, and this woman was brutally murdered. I mean, she was cross-sectioned and left in like outside, and her blood was drained. I mean, it's crazy stuff. Who deserves that? No one. And the up until like the late 70s, the LAPD were just still talking about how she was a tramp and she was like this and that. And then we've spoken just recently with people who knew her, who are still alive, and they said she was the nicest. You know, she came from a small town in Massachusetts. She was super nice. She did everything nice to people. I mean, it's like she didn't want to go back to California. She knew something was going on. So the fact that they're victim, it starts so early on. This is 1947. They're victim shaming them, and they're still doing it today.
Oh yeah,
So it's like,
it's horrible.
you know,
It's really
especially
horrible.
when the cops can't figure out who did it. They start
Right, right.
looking for what put them in that position to be, brutally murdered in the first place. They put themselves in that spot.
And it's crazy because anybody can be a victim. It doesn't matter who you are. And that's what I always say. Even though I study serial killers and I know exactly how these guys think, anybody can be a victim. Okay, these guys are smart. They learn your routines. They're good at planning ahead of what you're going to say, what you're going to think, what your next move is. Nobody is safe.
Yeah.
Anyone can be.
And they're patient.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's the part that's so terrifying is what you just said, is that anyone can be a victim.
Mm-hmm. Anybody.
And you don't think that when you're out in the world. You don't think anyone's watching you like that. That's why when we talked to them and they said to get those glasses with the rearview mirror, it's like, right. I got them. Because I believe what they're saying.
Yeah, and we even just put a video out on social media to tell people, women, if you're going to be jogging like that, get these glasses.
Get these glasses because they're terrifying. I mean, okay, another question from one of our listeners is, why did Bittaker and Norris throw a hammer and a flashlight down the cliff after murdering Cindy, but not get rid of the rest of their tools? And why would they be so callous to just throw the weapon?
Blood and DNA. That's why.
They just thought no one would ever find them out there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were out there.
I mean, it's
we've been there.
It's probable that no one would ever find them out there.
That place was treacherous. We actually tried to walk a little bit ways down there, and it's like the angle is like this.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's in it. It's nothing but sagebrush and stuff like that. Really kind of there's no gaps or anything. It's overgrown.
And it's all poison oak and ivy, and you got to think, and filled with rattlesnakes. I mean, the terrain is very rough.
Yeah.
Very rough terrain.
Yeah, and it's not like you can see anything from above either if there was flying a helicopter over.
I know, but still, it's still chancy to throw it out there. I mean, I get all that. We were there. It was scary. It was weird. It's not a place where there's a lot of traffic. I get that. But it is a fire trail. And if there was a fire, the fire department would be up there. We just had a fire across the street 2 weeks ago. And
Bittaker explained it to me is like, we've been up there now, and now it's more of like a hiking spot. But, Bittaker explained to me, he was like, back in 1979, like those mountains, it wasn't really a hiking spot. He had never seen anybody up there, even when he was up there, like scouting the location, like it was very deserted. Like,
I don't know. I still think it was arrogant on his part to think that no one could ever find that.
Well, they were getting away with a lot at that point.
They were, yeah.
So it's like that's where criminals get kind of lazy, and they just figure they throw it out. I mean, they've dumped stuff in, I don't know how many times they've found when they've the Lake Mead outside of Las Vegas when it was really low, and they started finding bodies everywhere in barrels and stuff like that. I mean, they'll just, the Hudson River, like literally we were living right on the Hudson River, right across from the Statue of Liberty. And we came back from lunch one day and there was crime tape all around. And
our apartment.
Our apartment complex. It was beautiful, overlooking the city, beautiful, beautiful grounds. And we went up and we talked to the cop. I go, what's going on here? And he goes, well, we found a floater, just, floated right up there. And I go, what do you think? He was someone, because we were near the George Washington Bridge. Could they have jumped off of it? And it's like that. He goes, we don't know. He goes, you do know, like right across from the Javits Center, literally probably not even a quarter mile away from our apartment, they were doing diving, and they didn't publicize this at all. The NYPD dive team was doing practice, and they found, 217 bodies, like chained, like cement shoes chained, like that are all down there. It was not in any of the press. And there was a tiny
little article like this
in a New Jersey small like paper in our neighborhood. That was the only one who published it. They didn't let anybody know that was there. Wow. So it's like they'll dump bodies. They don't care if they find the bodies as long as they can't connect it to any of them.
Anything.
And I'm sure a lot of those corpses had their hands cut off, their head cut off,
Well, thinking back about Bittaker and Norris, there was no DNA testing back then, so they wouldn't even have thought of that.
Yeah, there was no DNA. And you got to remember, Bittaker was doing this even before Norris.
Right.
So, that, like you said, he didn't care about throwing this stuff right over the ledge because he'd been doing this for years. Was never caught, nothing.
Okay.
Another one?
There's another one here. Someone was asking about Andrea's boyfriend. Did you ever talk to him?
Yes, I found him. Yeah.
What did he say about all of it?
Not much. I mean, because she was on her way to his place, the day she was abducted. That's why she was going from Manhattan Beach to Torrance, and she never made it there. And that was, her sister had thought that's where she was. And, he thought she was with the sister. So it took a couple days for them to actually talk to each other and figure out that she actually never made it over to his place.
There were no cell phones. There was none of that back then. Kids were roaming around Redondo Beach, Newport Beach, hitchhiking. Yeah. It was a totally different time than now. Like, you can't even go down the street without someone knowing where you are right now.
Right. That was a big thing, is a lot of these girls lived in the valley, but they would go hang out in South Beach. South Bay.
South Bay.
It was just normal for them to go to Hermosa or Manhattan or Redondo. It's summertime, they were always going from the valley to the beach. And when you're
some of them were hitchhiking down there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were taking buses too, hitchhiking, but that's just what they were doing. It's summer. They're heading to the beach. So, even if they're sleeping at their friends' places. So a lot of times they're like, their parents were just thinking, okay, they're spending the night at their girlfriend's house. It's 1979. They're at the beach or spending a day there or the weekend there. And yeah, it was just the culture.
Another question was, when you first walked in to San Quentin and you were pregnant, what was going through your mind when you first walked in?
I know we've asked you this question.
We've asked you a million times.
I still can't remember.
I think it's a good refresher, because you literally were determined to get in there. And just tell us the process of how you met Bittaker and why you decided to choose Bittaker and how you got onto death row and how he took you in.
Well, I mean, Bittaker was a couple years before, but there was just some intuition was telling me to like gun for him or go towards him, because I think I mentioned this before. He was just an asshole. And he wouldn't fill out the survey for the questionnaire. Like all the other serial killers were filling it out and helping me with the study. Bittaker is the one that wouldn't help me with the study. So he was the most difficult. And, a couple years later, I get pregnant, and then I'm coming out there. And it was actually Douglas Clark who kind of really, and way down and forward, put this in motion. Because I was making the plans to come out there pregnant. And I told them I'm coming out. And it was Ford and Doug actually approached Bittaker first. And like, she's pregnant and she's coming out. And then they're like, you should call her. And that's when he started calling and actually sending me the packets. And I mean, he started sending me packets. It started out with like those manila envelopes. And then it turned into soon like packages. And they were just files on his case.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. It was just a rabbit hole.
Exactly. But you went right to the top.
Yeah.
As far as the pecking order. I mean, I think, we've talked to a lot of crazy people with you on this thing, but based upon everything we know about this guy, I mean, he was the fact that a lot of people don't know more about him. I mean, he's to me, it's like, I mean, I don't know what Bundy's body count was, but I think Bittaker's was probably up that, if not more.
Yeah.
Well, I think the difference between Bundy and Bittaker is that Bundy was this handsome guy that a lot of people wanted to date and would never have assumed that he would be doing these things. And Bittaker was just a weird looking little dude. Yeah. So like, he was creepy anyway. So like,
Bittaker was always in the shadows. Like he was doing this, want anybody to know about this, which I think is almost like the scariest factor about him, is like, he was enjoying this so much. He didn't want the fame or the attention of it. Is like, he just wanted to stay in the shadows for his whole life doing this, which is what makes him so dangerous. Is he really wanted to stay in the shadows because he was enjoying it so much. He wanted to continue doing it.
It was his sadistic hobby that he just wanted to do.
And before he met Norris, how early do you think he started? I know we've talked about this before, but this was another question.
To me, it was 17, 18.
Yep.
Was the first one. So you're talking, he was 38 when he's arrested. So we have 20 years.
And he started in Florida.
Not Florida. No, it was all California.
Oh, it was all
All
California.
California.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he did high school in California, but he did do a cross country trip in his early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know about.
And he didn't talk about any of that,
He talked a little bit about it.
but not that he had victims during his trip across country.
There might be some in New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe along the route, but he talked about Louisiana the most.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
That's all the questions that I have.
The best of the best.
The best of the best. I mean, there were some others that, I mean, this is something that you could discuss for a second, but they said that you mentioned on death row at San Quentin, you weren't allowed to bring in anything except a pen and paper, and your audio recordings with Bittaker are well known, and they were confused, but obviously it's because you did them on the phone.
Oh yeah. They're all on the phone.
They're all on the phone.
The
And
reason
so-
they don't allow recordings in, because I get asked this a lot actually. An attorney had brought an audio record, like a tape recorder. He used to be able to bring them in, and a gun was smuggled in. And an attorney brought a gun in through the tape recorder. So they stopped that, and that is why you cannot bring any recording device onto death row anymore.
Well, there is no death row to bring any recorders on anymore.
Yeah, there's always been an incident, usually, if something gets shut down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, think it's like the movies. There's that plexiglass and there's a phone. That's not how it is. And no, you're in a cage, they're uncuffed. And you literally can only bring in a clear bag with 10 pieces of paper. And you actually have to ask for a pen. You can't even bring the pen in.
Well, what was interesting to me is like when I went in there with David Carpenter, I mean, they have outside the cages, they have all these vending machines,
Mm-hmm.
And they, so you're allowed to bring, and you went and got him some food, and you got him I think you got him a Coca-Cola or something like that, but they allowed an aluminum can to be in that cage with you. And I don't know anybody, you can turn the can into a weapon very quickly.
Yeah.
Like within take it, it's super sharp. And so I thought that was interesting.
They're actually, you could. The aluminum can, even the plastic knives and forks they have in there, you can easily turn into a weapon.
Absolutely.
If you want. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that was kind of a rude awakening. I'm like, I was staring at the can every time you put it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're literally sitting at like a foot and a half across from him.
You don't know what he's capable of doing. He could just turn in a second.
To the point where you can feel the spray from his mouth. That's how close you are.
I know.
I remember having to wipe down my face after. I'm like, I got Cyril Keller old man spit on my face.
I was so happy I wasn't allowed in. Who knew you can't wear blue jeans to San Quentin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, bye. See you after. So the other question is that knowing Bittaker and talking to him for thousands of hours like you did, if he were alive today and they were contemplating releasing him, what do you think he would have said about that? And do you think he would have gone right back to doing what he did before?
I would say if he had the health, there would have been a big possibility. Yes. I think, at the time, like when I encountered them, they were just old and frail. I don't think he could have done what he's done. But there are ways around that with, drugs and like binds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say he still would be a risk if, say, he still was alive for that, because the fantasies are still there. You got to remember, it's the fantasy is still there for these guys. They're still a threat. And from what I've seen, a lot of these fantasies stay. They don't just dissipate over anything. But the real thing is they're aging, and just what physical shape they're in and stuff.
Yeah. But just because they're physically not there, they still have the mental capacity to kill, and they could adapt to whatever they can do. I mean, he couldn't physically just tie them up or anything, but he could drug them and then do something in that way. I mean, that's someone as smart as Bittaker would have found a way to adapt if he was let loose, because that's an itch that you can't unscratch when you're someone like him.
That's my question. Like, do you think he could have been rehabilitated to not go back out and do this, putting his health aside, just his mental frame of mind? Do you think he would have gone back into public society and been able to control himself?
No, because the fantasies were still there with him and Norris, and a lot of the fantasies are still there.
Because it's all mental. Like when I was up at the Atascadero State Mental Hospital, I mean, they had pedophiles that would brutally murder young children and stuff like that. And then they would basically both chemically and physically castrate them. So they had no libido. And even the ones that I interviewed said, yeah, if I was let out tomorrow, I would go find someone and a young person, and I would do exactly the same thing. Because it's not there.
It's so true. It's all up here. And, you know, Dr. White, we've had a lot of discussions about this because he practices the medical castration. And it's great in a sense, but there's one caveat really towards it, is because sometimes you take that away, right? And it can actually make them more violent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just an added stressor on top of everything. So, you know, it's really like a double-edged sword, you know?
So in your opinion, in your professional opinion, and doing this for so long, do you think that it's possible that people with this type of psychosis and these fantasies can be rehabilitated?
It depends on the offender and what the fantasy is. But for the sexual ones, I mean, it's very, very hard.
Out of the ones that you have spoken to, is there like one or two you think this person could possibly have a chance at not doing that again?
Out of all of them?
Yeah.
Out of the sexual ones, no. I'm going to say no. With the ones who just have an act of violence, I've seen a couple that could possibly, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a maybe. That's not like a definite.
I mean, it would, require.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to really understand the horrificness of these crimes to understand the psychosis that goes along with committing these types of crimes. And I think that's the problem. Like, there's no discussion about the victim. There's a lot of victim shaming. There's a lot of like, let's not talk about it. Let's put it over here. There's a lot of normalizing of this behavior that we need to really shine a light on this, because this can become a very big societal problem in the future if we don't.
What the question I want answered is, like, when they're thinking of this and they're doing this currently, what is the rationale? Who is making that decision? Is there a checklist of things that they're checking off? Because just like when people get paroled, it's a process,
right?
You know, and not everybody gets approved for parole. It's a board of people. Is there a board of people, administrators who are sitting there going over these cases and say, oh, this guy, even though he's a pedophile, he killed kids and he killed people and he spent like 27 years, 30 years in prison. We feel that he's a good candidate to be released back in population? Or is this a financial thing? Or is this just part of that mindset that's currently swelling the whole world, and or at least in the United States, that these criminals are just their victims?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I think the biggest thing, and I've stated this a lot too, is, you know, when they go to committee and you look at Newsom, is like, there's too many politics involved in this. And people who don't study forensic psychology, they're not licensed in forensic psychology, they're not, you know, prison therapists, you know, they're not the ones actually making a lot of these decisions. Like, the prison psychologist might, you know, write up just like an evaluation, but they're not actually the ones in the committee for the paroles hearings and stuff like that. I mean, they'll speak and everything they say is under consideration, but it actually falls more into administration, politics. And I think that's major, major breakdown here. Yeah.
I mean, you just have people, they want to defund the police, they want to get rid of prisons, they want to do this.
But they don't understand the ramifications of these things. Putting your politics aside, everybody can believe whatever they want. This is a free country still. We're still allowed to believe what we want, regardless of all of that. We're talking about offenders. We're not talking about offenders that are wrongfully convicted. We're not talking about offenders that like are in prison for smoking weed. We're not talking about offenders that maybe got involved in some kind of gang violence at the age of 12 and are now serving a life sentence. We're not talking about those types of offenders. We're talking about offenders who take children, dismember them, and dump them in a ravine somewhere. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about violent offenders who wouldn't think twice about stalking you, murdering you, dumping your body somewhere, and we're okay with this.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
And then what are those offenders going to do on the outside? I mean, who's going to hire these people? They're going to have no money. They're going to have. Are we paying for all of that? Are we paying to set this person up in housing and giving them stipends? Yes. Monetary stipends. Is that the plan to kind of basically put them on welfare after all? I mean, to me, that's got to be more expensive than keeping them on the inside.
It's very expensive. Even I just heard for the sex change in California prison, it's over $4 million. And that's
$4 million.
Yes.
For one person.
For one person.
So taxpayers in California are paying $4 million. And look, I have trans friends. I'm not against trans. But what I'm saying is we need to understand what's going on here. $4 million for one person to have a sex change operation in prison. Is that what you're saying?
More than a sex change, because I know a lot of them who I've spoken to, they've had facelifts, like surgeries, like crazy plastic surgeries. It's not even just the actual surgeries to have, like, you know, become trans. It's also like detailed plastic surgery work, so the facelifts and the eye lifts and brow lifts and the whole face done and everything.
And then the ones that complete it, are they transferred to all women's prisons?
No, they're still in the men's prison.
Okay.
Does that put them in danger?
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
See, that doesn't make any sense either. You're going to go through all of this, but then you're not going to protect the person.
Right.
Doesn't make sense. There seems to be a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense here. It's not logical.
No.
There's no logic here. Okay, we're talking about logic. We're not talking about whether you're this side on the political spectrum or that side, because believe me, I mean, I can't even go there. I just think that it's got to come back down to logic and safety. Public safety.
That's the one thing. That's the thing that government is supposed to be there for. Public safety.
Right.
Number one, to keep the public safe.
You know, the correctional officer, he just said recently, I was talking to, you know, it's the last 2 years in the California prisons, it's like going into a zoo and unlocking all the animals' cages and just like letting them just all go. He goes, that's like the California prisons last 2 years.
And that's the correction officers who work inside these prisons.
Yes.
Okay, well, we want to humanize those people. We don't want to call them animals. But I do think that there's a percentage of those people that can be rehabilitated, sure. But there's a large percentage of those people that cannot. And they should be clearly evaluated before they're allowed back into society.
Right.
Not just check off a list and make a bill, and then all of a sudden you have offenders out in society who, A, can't function, and B, are still being driven by their impulses.
And I just don't understand how they can make these decisions without any sort of legislation
or oversight.
You know, because if, like you said, once we start blowing this out of the water and start diving into it and, you know, contacting these people to find out answers and getting more specifics, I don't know anyone in the public that would, number one, would want this to happen. And if they do, then they're letting their ideology overwhelm their rationale.
Look,
and
ideology is great. I mean, there's the idea of it. I'm sorry.
And then number two, where are you going to put them? It's going to be like, you know, because they have to, just like sexual offenders, they're going to have to notify any neighborhood that they put them in, and they have to literally do door knocks. I'm hoping that's what they're going to do. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just going to sneak them into because it's not being done above board. You know, like when a sexual offender gets released from prison and they put them somewhere, they have to notify everybody. The scariest thing that I ever did is I had an app on my phone, and I lived in this neighborhood not too far from here, and I still had, my kids were fairly young, and I did I went online and I checked. I said, who's sexual offenders in my area? There was one 2 doors down that I had no idea. You know, and you look at it and they're like, granted, I mean, to be labeled a sexual offender, it could be anything. I mean, you know, the guy could have gotten caught doing something in his car to himself and that's could be considered.
Right.
So
Right.
there's a broad spectrum here, but the amount of dots on that map in a very suburban neighborhood that looks very idyllic and safe, it was staggering.
It's crazy if you go on those. Yeah, it's just the idyllic neighborhoods. You wouldn't think there's anything, and it's covered.
So,
and what have they said to you about this kind of thing, about being released back into society? I know you've talked to Wayne about it, and a few of the other ones we've talked about a little bit before, but I'm just curious what they think about this. Like, do they think that?
I would say, most of them want to get out, of course, like obviously, but there is some, like, I think Wayne, it's like some of them actually don't. It's more of like, they don't think they'll be able to function healthy out there on their own. And they know the impulses are going to come back. Some of them are like very aware of it, and it actually scares them. Everyone's a different breed, and then there's serial killer X who can't wait, and he can't wait to
can't wait to get out, and he's convinced he's gonna get out. And
let me tell you, if you knew the guy's real name and you looked him up, it's scary.
It's horrifying.
But he hasn't been on in a while, but he started backpedaling when this process started happening, because I think he realized I don't want to implicate myself at all, because his probably attorney says, you better not talk about that stuff anymore.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because so much is happening right now with the attorneys telling them, like, you actually have a chance now. Look what's happening. And I really wonder if there's just like something bigger at play here. It almost feels like we're being desensitized to this type of crime.
That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. There's something else going on here. It's almost like they want to normalize this behavior.
But that's human nature. You can't be normalized to brutal crime. You can't desensitize someone to brutal crime.
I know, but look at what they did with the Epstein files, like releasing it. It almost feels like, it's right in our faces, and everybody's reading it now. And it's like, it's just it feels like we're being desensitized especially to these sex crimes.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Laura. I think
but they're still happening though.
Right.
It's like that. I don't understand the rationale, how people can be desensitized to these kind of Greek tragedies that we're seeing every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's every day too.
When it comes to children, I just can't wrap my mind around this. I mean, we're supposed to be protecting children. Right. We're not supposed to be allowing people who have impulse control problems, documented impulse control problems around children, should not be allowed around children.
Right.
I mean, that's our duty as adults in a civilized society, to take care of children.
Right.
So I don't know. It's gut wrenching here. I'm going to get in touch with Nina. And we're going to have you back on with Nina, and we're going to talk about this again.
Oh, yeah, this is a big problem.
This is a big thing, and it needs to be discussed. We didn't really expose the shutdown on San Quentin as much as we wanted to.
Yeah.
We were hoping that the traditional media was going to really kind of cover it, and they really didn't.
And that's the thing
well, the other thing that's interesting is that the fact that you have Newsom's going to be going out of office this year.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's almost like he's trying to throw everything at the kitchen sink, and because that I know for a fact that didn't go through legislation. It couldn't have.
I don't know.
We don't know that for a fact. We have to find out.
I'd be so
we
surprised.
Don't know that.
We know. I mean, to me, that should be like a ballot measure.
It could have been a tiny little proposition that no one paid attention to, and everybody just
I read all the
it.
propositions, and it didn't.
I mean, I did too, but it
wasn't. It wasn't on a ballot issue. So if it had to go through legislation, and if it went through the state capitol, someone would have spoken up about this. So I'm guessing it was like, because there was no.
What, Laura?
Why is it being kept so quiet? Why,
Exactly.
That's what's really interesting about this whole thing. And no one's heard of it. When we were there, we were like, why is nobody, filming this or talking about this? There's nothing. And it's still, even 2 years later, I mean, still nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, people get more freaked out about the gas tax in California than something like this.
Because a lot of people don't know. When I told my friends here, and they said, what? Like, none of them understood what I was saying, and none of them believed that was true. And I was like, okay, here's the video. This is what's happening. And then it was started coming into the news, and they were like, oh my God, how is this happening without anybody knowing? And I go, well, it's happening. And we're telling you, like, we need to make noise about this. You can't just sit quietly about this. This is important.
Yeah.
Folks,
Now,
if you're listening right now,
them
this is
out-
important.
It is. And I mean, now if you're moving them out of the prisons, I mean, this is a whole different game now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more people that the law enforcement have to worry about.
Mhm.
Because if I was a law enforcement, like say they put them in a small town up in, some agricultural, up in Visalia, California. I mean, and if I was the police chief in that thing, I'd have somebody watching wherever that person was all the time.
Yeah.
Now, I can't even imagine what those people are thinking, the people that put them in there in the first place.
Yeah. And I mean, you're right. I mean, it's really going to fall on local law enforcement.
Yeah.
And, I mean, who's to say they even have the resources to watch these guys?
Yeah, they don't, but you would make an effort to it. I mean, at least I would if I was a police chief in some of these small towns, and that's usually where they put them. Like Barstow is like a big place where they dump them. Because it's kind of like a desert community. It's like it's out in the middle of nowhere.
It's a perfect place for them because they can hide out.
Right.
And but there's other towns too. I mean, California's a big state, but
yeah,
it's crazy to even think that they're going to let these people out. And I definitely think we need to dive into this one and figure out.
Yeah, I mean, if you read the book about Bittaker and Norris, I mean, just look at Bittaker and Norris. They were on parole during that entire time span that they were doing their crimes too.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yep.
Tells you everything right there.
Right.
On parole, and they're out there murdering multiple young women.
Not even 1 month, Norris committed a rape. Yeah. Right out.
All right, Laura. Well, we're gonna dive into this one, and gosh, we will.
Yeah.
See
and
you.
anybody listen to this, start looking into this, start asking questions for our California people, our fans and listeners.
But even across the country, because like Laura, we were saying before, like this is just, if this goes here, what's to say it's gonna take off the rest of the country. So this isn't just isolated to California. I mean, we need to pay attention. People need to pay attention. And I think we're getting so much information all day long, from so many different angles, podcasts, news, everything, television. So it's hard to keep track of what the heck is really going on out there.
Or what's true and what's not.
And what's true and what's not true.
Right.
But
all right. Well, Laura, it's always great to see you. We're going to put a little link to Laura's book in the show notes, so don't miss it. You got to read God's Not Here, Only Devils. It's fantastic. And it's soon going to be a TV movie or film or something where we're going to see it on the big screen.
So.
All right, Laura, we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.